Big Manistique Lake in Curtis is my home lake. I built a resort right on the shores of this lake, and I love fishing this lake. This is such a diverse fishery. It offers three really great options for fishermen. A phenomenal perch fishery, which we'll talk about in a later episode. A fantastic smallmouth bass, totally underrated smallmouth bass fishery, which again, we'll talk about at a later date. And what we're gonna talk about today, which is the reason most people come to Big Manistique Lake, and that is inland lake walleye fishing. You know, Big Man starts immediately on opening day. May 15th in the Upper Peninsula, you can be on these fish. And the cool thing, the unique thing about these fish is that they're not live bait, slow, subtle, cold water fishing. We are trolling cranks on these fish immediately from opener all the way through again until it's so cold you can't stand yourself. This is a crankbait lake. And so it's easy for me to talk about it because I'm a crankbait fisherman. And so let's just take you through a quick progression of the fish. And what is key about Big Manistique Lake is that it's a crayfish orientated lake. Almost the entire lake is covered with gravel. There's very few soft bottom places in Big Manistique Lake. And this makes for absolutely fantastic populations of crayfish. The real key to Big Manistique Lake is running small crayfish, shad imitation baits, usually in the crayfish color, and getting them to bounce or skip. That's one of my favorite ways to present a bait here on Big Manistique, and it works year-round from spring to fall. What is skipping? Skipping is basically taking your crankbait and getting it close enough to the bottom so that as the bottom undulates just slightly, even little rocks can stick up. That crankbait is so close to the bottom that it encounters rocks and it will glance and skip off to the side. Sometimes it's even digging continuously for 30, 40 yards until the bottom drops a few inches again. This skipping or digging is the presentation that triggers strikes here on Big Manistique Lake. I typically start in the beginning of the year in very shallow water, 4, 5, 6 feet of water, letting my crankbaits out, 15 to 20 feet is all. Remember, a number 5 size bonsai shad or a shad wrap are gonna work great. Crayfish color, a bone white color also works really good on this lake. Imitating minnows. You're just gonna run it out, hook it to an offshore board, send it out, and you're basically not gonna send it more than 15 or 20 feet from the boat. All you're trying to do is give yourself the ability to run 2 lines each. If you got yourself and another guy in the boat and want to run 4 rods, you're just gonna send your boats out 25 feet to either side. You're in very shallow water and you're short lining. So a lot of times it's just a case of a few cranks, bringing the thing in, taking the board off and netting the fish within a few more cranks. These fish are aggressive early in the year. As the year progresses, you're simply going to take that entire presentation and slide it out. You're going to adjust your leads and you're going to adjust your depth to where you're marking the fish. The same presentation method works all the way out to 10, 12 feet of water. The nice thing about Big Manistique Lake is its maximum depth is 19 feet. So you don't have to worry about getting into such deep water that you lose contact with the fish. Almost any crankbait you tie on, whether it's flatlined out on mono or put out on a synthetic line like fire line or a braid, is going to be able to achieve those types of depths. So you can just simply follow the fish right out. Another cool presentation, which is what I think we did the TV show on, is running high lines over weeds. A lot of the fish, once they leave the shorelines, will migrate either to the basin area of the lake where they feed on perch, or a percentage of them will head to the weeds where they begin to continue to feed on crayfish. Now these weed fish become very susceptible to high trolled baits. That same method, instead of skipping rock tops in the bottom, now you're skipping weed tops. So you're short lining your baits out and you're finding whatever depth you have over top of newly emergent weeds. If you've got 5 foot of water over top of a weed bed, then you're gonna let it out so that your bait's going down 4.5. And what that does is that imitates a minnow fast running over the top of the weeds. Walleyes are classic settlers, meaning they settle down into weed tops and they sit there waiting for fish to swim over their head, and they dart out, grab them, and then go right back into the weeds. This presentation is deadly on Big Manistique, I have a feeling it's deadly on a lot of lakes. I just haven't fished that way on a lot of lakes. But Big Manistique, this is a presentation that if you master skipping off the bottom or running over top of weeds, you're gonna catch a ton of walleye. And it's a year-round bite from start to finish. From opener to deer hunting, Big Manistique Lake is a crankbait lake that produces tons of walleyes. If you're coming here to get a reservation and stay, really lodging and accommodation starts and ends with Pine Bluff Resort. Pine Bluff is the UP's premier Four Seasons resort. It's open year-round. It's an ice fishing haven. It's a snowmobiler mecca. It is a vacation mecca for people from all over the Midwest. It is a full-service resort. It has outdoor pools, indoor pools. It has a boat slip system with power and lighting. It is really built and designed to accommodate vacationers and fishermen alike for everything they need. It has onshore gas, the only location of onshore gas anywhere on the lake. So this again is a full service resort. The cabins, seriously, they're second to none. They're like 1,500 square foot brand new log interior homes. Everything is kept meticulously, including the underground sprinkled grounds. So Pine Bluff has really got to be your start place, but there is a ton of mom and pops places scattered all around the lake if you can't get into Pine Bluff. When you're looking for bait, the Fish and Hunt Shop in Curtis, right downtown Curtis, just a few miles from Pine Bluff and right on the shores of Big Manistique Lake, has everything you need. It's got the critical crankbaits that we use here on the lake. It's got all the minnows and night crawlers, spinners you could want, refills on your line, lures, even fishing tackle and new poles. If you're looking for a rental boat, again, same thing. Fish and Hunt is your spot to get a several-day rental or even a one-day rental so you can enjoy the fishing here in the Manistique Lakes recreation area. So thanks for joining me today on this lake preview for Big Manistique Lake, a lake close to my heart. If you want more information, check us out online at fishermansdigest.com where we have plenty of videos. And again, thanks for listening to this lake preview, Big Manistique Lake in Curtis, Michigan.